Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, back with more Ravnica Allegiance spoilers. We're at about 151 out of 259, I believe, known so far. And of course, like I said, there's lands in there, so I think at this point we got most of the mythics and rares, but we'll see. I'm sure some crazy stuff is yet to come, because yesterday was pretty nuts. Hey, speaking of pretty nuts, Biogenicoohs. So it's a 5-cost 2/2 in green, kind of like Tendershoot Dryad. And then when it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 green ooze creature token, kind of like Tendershoot Dryad. And then at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each ooze you control, kind of like Tendershoot Dryad. And then you can pay 4 and create another token, kind of like Tendershoot Dryad. Hey wait, this is Tendershoot Dryad. I mean, it works differently and you feed it differently and the triggers go off differently, but at the end of the day, functionally, in the right deck, this is the same damn card. So this is clearly for like some kind of Simic ramp, some just all-in, let's generate a buttload of mana, which I think it'll be a fun deck. I don't know if it'd be a tier 1, but yeah, it's the kind of thing I'd play. I mean, if you have 8 mana, just create 2 more oozes, and then end step, boom, they get a counter. So lots of oozes coming out, and they're getting bigger, and just like Tendershoot, you can't say this is broken because this just dies to everything. I mean, Shock could take this thing down. Well, initially, and that's what I would say about Tendershoot. You let that go for 2 turns, I don't care if you blow it up at that point. I just loaded the board up. I mean, I'd lose the boost, but still. Now this one, you gotta feed mana into it to get it to do what it's doing, but the getting bigger part is free, whereas you'd have to like clone or bring out another Tendershoot to get the rest of them bigger, or, obviously City's Blessing one time. But then the creation of the tokens is what's not free. So it's kind of like inverted, but like I said, in the right deck, if you appropriately put this in, at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of crap that dumps out and it's an instant army that gets bigger. Now this does put a counter on itself, but even then I still wouldn't say it's a better card than Tendershoot, because that token creation being the free part, the automatic part, is probably more valuable in general to the game than getting a counter on just this ooze and another one, and that's it, assuming you didn't put any mana into it yet. But if they want to get rid of this at sorcery speed, they're going to have to do it to a 3/3 no matter what, because your first end step you get a counter. So this is pretty significant, not overpowered, it looks fun, it's interesting, and you've got a couple turns to respond to it. It's one of those, okay, timer's ticking, I'm kind of all in with this mana-wise and focus and all that, but if you stop it, then okay, good for you. And unlike Carnage Tyrant, it's very stoppable, so it's a fair card. I think it'll be very popular. So next up, we got Captive Audience. I think that artwork might be a little bit of a Battle Bond callback, because it got the one goblin in there. And maybe it's coincidence, but it's a 7-cost enchantment, mythic, Rakdos colors, and it enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. Oh, this'll be good. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. So that would be invisibly referring to the current controller, not the owner. So your opponent has to choose one of these. Your life total becomes 4, discard your entire hand, or each opponent creates 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Every single upkeep. Although, as it states, the same one cannot be picked twice. So after 3 cycles, this does nothing. Unless you bounce it back to hand or in-place flicker it. That would be fun. So, I mean, it's 7 mana, it's another one of those enchantments that's basically a Planeswalker Ultimate. And we've seen at least, 1 or 2 of those already just in this set, so that's, I guess, a theme now. I think it's kind of neat. I mean, better than actual Planeswalkers, which are actually quite annoying. And, taking the pressure off your life total, now you got to deal with that. And what if you can't deal direct damage? And what if you can't get to it in combat because of, something? Just Planeswalkers are just annoying. This, yeah, enchantments are almost impossible to remove. You have to, like, exile them or directly blow them up. But it is just so much mana. The thing is, though, I think those effects, even for 7 mana, are pretty nuts. And the problem is you can't just keep picking, like, the zombie one over and over and over because you've got, 10 saplings, and that's fine. No, you got to pick one that hasn't been picked yet. So you're not going to have any cards to play with at one point, and your life total is going to be just basically lose the game low. I mean, you're playing against red, obviously. They'll just Banefire you or something. Well, in Rakdos and unblockable direct damage, that's, like, their thing. So this is incredibly annoying. It's just those colors really don't ramp right now. I mean, really. Like, there's a little bit of black draw and a little tiny bit of red reload in your hand, but, like, that's it. And they're not really Rakdos cards. So will somebody realistically be able to get to 7? Probably only in a Bolas deck. And even then, like, it would have to be pretty heavy blue draw. Now, 5-color Guildgates, almost an automatic include. So we'll see it, just probably not in Rakdos, which is a shame. Overall, I think the card's just annoying and they should have printed it. Either that or they should have made it cost like 8 or 9, so it's just almost impossible to attain. Considering how it's almost impossible to stop. Oh, and actually, I should correct myself. there actually is some red ramp. I mean, you got the elemental dude that can generate some red mana. You've got Jaya, I believe, who can do it. Sarkhan, I think that can only be spent on a dragon. Like, there's a couple red artificial generations. They're usually one-hitters, but, like, they do exist. I mean, there's even Saka Goblin generate one red mana. So, I mean, if you're going to do, like, black draw, red stall, death touch, removal just into ramp and into this like an all-in deck, and you could maybe make it work a little bit better than I might have earlier said. So two very interesting mythics first off here. Next up, we got something in Italian. Hey. Well, it's all been Asian languages, Portuguese, and Spanish so far, so it's nice to see Italy. I assume we won't see France because it's like on fire. Hey, speaking of that, the fun part about doing these videos and like editing and all that and being in full control of the timing and pacing is you guys have no idea that it's about 9 minutes later, and I look back, I'm like, what's that smell? I accidentally left the burner on after already finishing what I was cooking, so what was left in the pan pretty much just lit on fire. My whole apartment's full of smoke, alarm's going off, neighbor's kind of pissed, and I'm sitting here with the windows and the patio door open, and it's like 20 degrees out, and I'm wearing a hat and a winter jacket. But see, you wouldn't have known that if I didn't tell you. It would look like no time has passed at all. So anyway, this card is Cinder Shadow. Just kidding, it's Cinderlash, it's not Cinder Shadow. That's another Gruul card, clearly, and it's an Incantesimo. Or enchantment, and whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cinderlash deals 1 damage to that player. We've had stuff like this before. Pay 1, sacrifice Cinderlash, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Hey, that's not bad. And then Cinderlash deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Wow, that's almost like too much right there, but that is really nice, because it's like, it's kind of like that Brontodon or whatever, the thing where it's like a 3/4, but you could blow it up and nuke an enchantment or whatever. That's just nice, because even if you get it off, like, naturalized mainboarded just feels so stupid and like a waste of a card. Like I said, even if you get it to have a valid target and you do something with it. Like, you destroy a History of Benalia, so it's still a wasted spot in your deck. So tacking on typical, you know, red and green destruction stuff onto other creatures and enchantments, just other cards as an option, absolutely wonderful design choice. I love it. So normally Gruul would be the one where they're just like, okay, every standard rotation, some guild, tribe, shard, whatever, clan, group, color combination, whatever it is, they're the ones you're just not going to beat in combat. There is just nothing superior to them in combat. You're not going to go creature to creature against them and win. But then here comes this card where they're like, oh, you're going to cast some non-creature spells? Well, take 1 damage for each one too, because you ain't going to beat us with those either, which is how you beat Gruul. So it takes Gruul's major weakness, which is people just spamming removal spells, and it like doubles down on it. Now, I do appreciate that it wasn't creatures, because that would just be like, that would almost be like you wouldn't need this. They're not going to beat you with creatures anyway. And then it says cast, not ETB, so it wouldn't have been tokens anyway if they flipped it to that. So I do like the design. I think maybe people would leave it in the sideboard until they're like, okay, they're playing a lot of non-creature stuff. But the funny thing is, like, a pure non-creature deck, basically Teferi, I mean, they typically run 0 creatures in some of those builds. I don't think it would lose to this. I really don't. They could cast like 15 spells and still not care that they're at 5, or they would just do like, Revitalize or something. I feel like they just wouldn't care, and also they'd be able to remove this too. Either bounce it back to hand repeatedly, or just remove it, exile it, put it back in your library, something like that. So it's kind of questionable effectiveness when for 2 you could be dropping out, maybe not something that'll do as much damage during the entire battle, but you know, if you go 2, 3, 4 drops, and they're all like, oh, they get bigger, you could dump counters on them, they all have like trample, or, you know, all these Gruul options, it actually might. Like, in a group, it might actually do more damage than this spell would to just drop out a creature for 2, and especially for 3. But that last ability is really nice, so that's another reason you would definitely want this in your sideboard if you're playing Gruul. So next up, we got the Clan Guild Mage. I guess those Guild Mages that were Guild Mages but weren't called Guild Mages were part of a rotation that isn't called Guild Mages, and also now we have Guild Mages, so that's not confusing. So anyway, this is a 2/2 for 2, which is nice. A lot of them are cheap, the ones in the actual Guild Mage rotation. I don't know what you would call the other ones. They're mages. They're in the guilds. But you pay 1 in the red. Target creature can't block this turn. That's obnoxious. I hate that. And you pay 3, and target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with haste until end of turn. It's still land. So that's kind of nice. It's a neat little thing. Start chucking lands at them late game. That'll get you pretty far, actually. That ability technically costs 4 because you lose the ability to tap that land if you were going to swing with it, I should say. I really just don't like target creature can't block abilities that are recurring. Like, if it was just 1 spell, it's bad enough. Okay, I took the damage. This is just like, oh, you've got a 7/7 that you finally dropped out. Cool, it does nothing. they're still going to keep coming, and this is a Gruul card. So this is just annoying. I mean, this is going to be so annoying. The only problem is, with Gruul, you almost want it to be an all-in blitz. Just go, go, go. And this is just, oh, I'm just going to stand there and be a 2-2 that just does cool stuff later. Okay, way to kind of hit the brakes on the turn 2 there, or even turn 3 or 4, because, you know, it's a 2-drop. Never know what you could have dropped in. So it would go in a more tactical, slow, careful, cautious, you know, mid-game dominance Gruul instead of just let's go, but, I don't know, will anybody play that? Who knows? Next up, a card that's got a lot of people talking, Dophins Acuity, not only because that looks nothing like Dovin, that looks like a blue Will Smith, but also because it's a 3-drop that's just basically the same exact card as we've seen with Dimir. So 3-drop mixed color enchantment, oh boy, when it enters the battlefield you gain 2 life and draw a card. Sounds familiar. At least it doesn't make the opponent discard. I am so sick of that. And the second half is, whenever you cast an instant spell during your main phase, hey, they should add a keyword for that. That sounds like it should have a keyword assigned to it. You may return Dophins Acuity to its owner's hand. So it's the exact same thing as Dimir. It's, you know, every time you, surveil, bring it back to your hand, and then you dump it in, draw a card, cool. This is 2 life, draw a card. And you're probably thinking, oh, but at least it doesn't make people discard. Yeah, but it's 2 life and they draw a card, and these are control colors, and it goes into Teferi Lockdown deck. Like, are you kidding me? It's just as bad, so I'd say this card was a mistake. No, not really. But the couple decks it will clearly go in was a mistake. So it all comes back down to ban Teferi. It's that simple. He should have been banned months ago. In fact, he never should have been printed in the first place. Who's that stupid to put something like that in those colors? It's like, here, have a free counter spell, control spell, removal spell, and also untap land so you can cast it every single turn. That's like Jace the Mind Sculptor level broken. You would think they would have learned from that. In fact, just giving blue too much card draw is what's wrong with every blue deck right now, pretty much, and is it? Because of the blue. You're just giving them too many damn cards, and they have too many control spells in those colors. So here's this to make it worse, but every time we see something that's just broken that upgrades the Teferi deck, it gives me more confidence that it'll get so bad that they will have to remove it. They will have to do something about it, ban something from it, obviously Teferi. If you have a copy, sell it right freaking now. So next up we've got Gates Ablaze, which I wish destroyed all gates in play. That would have been a wonderful equalizer for that toxic deck. But it's a 3-cost sorcery, and it deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of gates you control. So anybody running 5-color gates will be running this. It's an asymmetric board wipe, kind of, because you probably won't run creatures. You'll just run gate fetch, draw, control, which would be this, and then just game winners. I told you guys from the first time we saw that stupid blue card that lets you draw cards every time a gate enters play, gates are going to be a problem, and it's getting worse, and I guarantee I'm right. So next up, Español, Finalmente. I believe that would be pronounced Vidriera del Pacto entre Gremios. And apparently entre doesn't mean entered, like I thought it was like entered by the guilds, but no, it's between. It's just the word between. Yeah, my Spanish ain't that great. I don't even know the difference between Ventana and Vidriera. I'm sure there's a difference. I don't know what it is. But hey, Guild Pack Magic! If that's in the storyline, I'm going to be real excited because Guild Pack Magic is the bomb! Like, for real, look up the actual history of the card Supreme Verdict. It can cause large explosions, like plane ruining explosions. Law Magic is best magic, just ask Harvey Birdman. Unfortunately, as excited as I was to see something involving the Guild Pact, because the Guild Pact is freaking awesome, not Jace, the actual Guild Pact. This is just a 2-drop artifact that says multicolored creatures you control get +1/+1, so that's kind of cool, but to build a whole deck around this would be just whack. But I mean, in Commander, this will be crazy. I feel like they just threw a bunch of Commander cards into this set that aren't even supposed to be played in Standard, but who knows? I mean, you never know. I mean, in a 5 gates deck, maybe. I don't think they would really count on creatures. They would just count on big spells, big game winners, big enchantments, and big planeswalkers. So not Domri Raid, that short bastard. So next up, we got a rare multicolored land. Very interesting. It's called Harmony Square, possibly. These translations are like always wrong. It's not legendary, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more gates, you gain 3 life. You can tap it to add 1 colorless, but you can also tap it and add 1 mana of any type that a gate you control can produce. So basically an improved Reflecting Pool, but for gates decks. And Reflecting Pool, I think, was like a $10 card last time I checked. That's actually a pretty good land. So like turn 1, okay, I mean, you could drop something colorless. Honestly, a Gates deck would probably go kind of artifact heavy or something, you know, with just big blockers or something maybe for the first 3 turns. Or maybe, you know, Gleaming Barrier. Like, that would be pretty good. Generates a treasure when it dies. And then as soon as you drop out a gate, boom, you're doubled up. The problem is if you really need a color that you haven't dropped in yet, this ain't gonna help you. But the whole, if you control 2 or more gates, gain 3 life, that's wonderful. I mean, a life gain land, you didn't even have to, burn a spell on it. That's kind of cool. So pretty good, but not like overly insane, and you could run multiples without worrying about legendary collisions. So, I don't know, looks pretty neat. Next up, Hero of Precinct 1. Ooh, I remember Precinct 1. RTR, baby, Precincts are awesome. I'm actually thinking of Precinct 6. I just realized that, and then Night Howler just ruined it anyway. Okay, who knows what card I'm thinking of. So this is a 2/2 for 2. It's a human warrior, so I am going to bounce back to hand with Selective Snare, and whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. So right off the bat, I'd say mixed color vampires, but honestly, the best vampires are mono, unlike, allies in BFZ. And I'm struggling to find anything I would automatically drop this into. It looks like such a good spell, and it's a rare, but I don't know, they're really pushing it. Like, would this even be worth it in a gate deck? Probably not. It is a multicolored spell, not a multicolored creature, at least, so that's nice. But some of the best game winners are not even mixed colors, so I mean, reliable recurring token generation is pretty nice, but it's not even a lifelink or nothing. It's just a white human, and that's it. I don't know. I could take it or leave it. Who knows? It might become something and might not. I just don't think it has the deck support. Next up, a card that has Cinder Shadow completely up in arms. Incubation Druid. It's a 0/2 for 2, so it dies to everything. It's a non-legendary elf druid, so once again, I am going to bounce this back to hand with Selective Snare. Suck it. You can tap it, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce, so it's literally just Reflecting Pool. And if Incubation Druid has a 1/1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type instead. So you can't mix types, and it still only matches what you already have in play, which, I mean, if it's monocolored, who cares? That works. And then the adapt cost, I mean, it is adapt 3, so this thing will be huge. It'll be a 3/5. That's actually combat capable, but it costs 5. So that's going to be pretty late game. So it's early game ramp, and then late game even better ramp. So this is really powerful. Like, really, really, really powerful. This is way better than that other Simic thing that just taps for 2, 1 of each color. I mean, Simic's super ramp with an adapt, like most of the deck being adapt, I should say, being the main mechanic, but then just bomb cards that cost a ton of mana. I think that's going to be a very good deck. Very, very, very good. And this is kind of what we needed. I mean, you mix this with Morrowind and do as much non-adapt counter drop as you possibly can and put mostly elves in, you're golden. By the way, fun little tip for you, Morrowind is 29 cents, Simic is running a buttload of elves, and giant green mana ramp to bomb spells is going to be a thing guaranteed. You put the pieces together. Full disclosure, I already own 100 copies of Morrowind. Next up, we got Lumbering Battlement. Oh boy. It's like Lord of the Rings meets that weird movie trailer where like the cities shoot at each other and stuff. Like the cities move, and yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, it's a 5 cost 4/5 with Vigilance. So that's kind of cool. Nice little offense-defense mix like that archetype. But also when it enters battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. Lumbering Battlement gets a +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. That is putting all of your eggs in one basket. The only good thing is you get your creatures back if they blow it up. So it's, little insurance policy. So I mean, just put like lifelink or trample or flying or anything on this thing and damn, or even just just swing with it. Who cares? You're really opening yourself up to getting blitzed, but I mean, that late game, really? So in like a White Weenies deck, you throw in 1 or 2 of these and you could just be a big problem for them. The only problem is, yeah, it's Vigilance, so it can block. Good, because you certainly don't have any other blockers. But then like, how do you make it win? I mean, if they have 5 Saprolings, you're just going to be swinging forever. So I don't love it, but it's kind of neat. It would work with like an aura-heavy deck, I guess. I don't know. Next up, oh, good, we're back to Portugal. I think that might translate to Orzhov Imposter. I gotta say, Toque Mortefero is like the coolest thing ever, and I said that super white. I mean, it's Death Touch, it's dramatic. Esta Torque Mortefero. And it's actually something really similar in Spanish, I think. And I love how Afterlife is literally just post-vita. Post-vita. Why would a Latin prefix have a hyphen? Just Portuguese. Get it together, man. I think somebody just like hit their head or got really drunk and then just forgot how French worked. And then they just like picked up a Spanish book and just drew little symbols and crap in it. That's how Portuguese came about. So, I mean, it's a 2 cost 1/2 Death Toucher with Afterlife 1. So you got to kill it twice and it's a Death Toucher. I love it. Automatic include in a spirits deck, like an actual afterlife spirits deck or 3-color spirits, anything basically. This card is absolutely amazing. I mean, this will take down a Carnage Tyrant. Like, you really can't overstate how good a kill it twice and the second one's in the air Death Toucher is. This is going to be such a good card in so many different decks. I'm thankful that I can now get rid of my 1/1 Death Toucher for 1. Yeah, this costs double. It's a little bit later, but like, you gotta kill it twice. It's not just one and done. You still get some value. Next up, a person who I thought was Liliana, but isn't Priest of Forgotten Gods. I'm pretty sure that's not Liliana. Remember, her little demonic pact thing got transferred to Nicol as a cheap, like, plot shift thing because she didn't read the fine print on her contract. It's just so dumb. So besides how painfully stupid that is, she's basically under the control of Bolas, and he's going to use her to fight the Guild Pact. Or Guild, not Gate. Who are these people? The hell is their name? It's not Guildguard. It's not the Avengers. It's really late. It's really cold in my apartment, and there's a lot of smoke in here. Oh, the Gatewatch. Those guys. Yeah. So yeah, the Gate Guild watched Avenger crew assemble friends. They're going to be fighting Liliana, but the whole point of this ridiculous tangent is that's probably not her. It is a rare 2, cost 1 too, so that's got to be nice. And sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life. And sacrifice a creature. So that's nuts. And then you add 2 mana and draw a card. So this is just that concoction card all over again from, what, Origins or whatever? They souped it up. It's got some higher stakes now, and you can do this repeatedly. So the fact that you can do this with death triggers, maybe like a zombie thing, bring back Liliana a little bit from the earlier sets. So if you've got 2 creatures to spare that you really don't need or that you're going to benefit from dying, and it does say other creatures, you can't include her, so there's that, no self-destructing, then guaranteed 2 life that's unblockable, cannot stop that damage, and then they also lose a creature. Now, it's their choice, but it's also sack, so bypass is indestructible and hexproof, that's huge. Then you get 2 mana out of it, which is nice, because then you can cast something to replace it, or just reassembling skeleton, just bring 1 back, and then also draw a card. So you get mana and a card out of it. I mean, are you really going to miss those creatures? It's still a little bit of a gamble, and this thing is not going to do anything in combat. So it's a bit of a bold strategy, but I mean, you can just sit there and do this every combat in the right deck, and they're just going to run out of creatures. Mix this with the Eldest Reborn. Oh my gosh. So that is a crazy powerful card. Absolutely nuts. Next up, hey, it's Dagoth. I thought I killed him in Morrowind. Oh, Dagoth joined Rakdos. I didn't see that coming, but it makes sense. Epic plot twist. So it's a 2-cost instant in red, so I'm sure it's complete AIDS. Deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile instead. So it's just another lava spike, but not even close to as good. Yeah, it gets rid of a reassembling skeleton, but it doesn't kill a chupacabra. It doesn't kill a phoenix. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe some obscure, weird sideboard condition. I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know. Next up, Skewer the Critics. I know, right? Metacritic is a freaking joke. Anyway, 3-cost sorcery, Spectacle 1, hello. It deals 3 damage to any target. So if you got a flipped over Nicol Bolas out there talking crap, 3 damage. So reducing that to 1 is actually pretty significant. I mean, 3 damage to any target for 1 is literally Lightning Bolt. So this is Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt, of course, one of the massive, massive mistakes in the entire game. There are 0 equivalent spells. I guess, what is that, Rift Bolt or whatever, but you gotta wait on that one. That's kind of the downside. That's the hook. But just the amount of damage, the flexibility, and the speed of it all put together, there has never been anything even close to that printed in the last 5 years, let alone probably 10 or 15. So this is the same thing. Oh, it's Lightning Bolt, but, and then they add a little caveat to it. It's just like, oh, if you want to counter any spell for 2, there's going to be a catch to it. Certain things in the game are just deemed too powerful for what you pay and how it works, and Lightning Bolt is one of them. I'm really surprised, because of the way they've been naming cards in this set, that this wasn't called something something Bolt. Because the Essence Scatter clone has like Essence in it, and like, you know, there's like 10 other examples. Like Angel's Grace and Angelic Grace or whatever the hell it is, Angel of Grace. It's like the same card that, yeah, it's a thing, I guess they decided to do. So anyway, yeah, 100% of Rakdos Spectacle decks are going to run this. Just automatically include. I don't need to say more about it. Next up, ooh, Guild Pack stuff again. Tome of the Guild Pack. Please tell me this is good. Come on. Nope, it's just more multicolored crap. So it's a 5-drop, and whenever you cast a multicolored spell, draw a card, cool, and then add 1 mana of any color. Wow, a 5-cost single tap ramp card. Oh boy. Recurring draw is nice. I could see somebody maybe putting this into like a Gates deck that runs really heavy multicolor, but like I said, a lot of the best spells are mono, so yeah, we'll see. I feel like in a Gates deck, that stupid encyclopedia that draws cards for way too much mana is probably like a better choice than this. I mean, yeah, they're free, but like, how many are you really gonna chain together? And that was the last one, so some pretty crazy stuff, nothing too broken, a lot of stuff that just looks fun, looks like it should be put in a deck, and, you know, I think people are gonna enjoy, so that's good. Hopefully they continue to print just interesting, neat stuff that gets me thinking, like, oh, I might put that in a deck, oh, I could put that in my existing deck, oh, I could build a deck around that. That's what sells packs, that's what gets people excited, gets the hype up to 11 for us. It's just a shame that we're up to like 5 cards that just help out Teferi to the max, and obviously you can't just add, you know, 5x 420 cards into that deck, but they might creep a couple 1-ofs, 2-ofs in there and make that deck just even more solid, even more consistent, and that really just overshadows the entire release, the entire product. I believe they have a ban coming up, like a ban announcement or whatever, ban time, ban decision, like right at or before or right after the release of the set. I don't remember exactly when, but it's like really early. If they do not ban Teferi in that one, it's over for the set. It's over for standard. They're just going to have to do it later. It's really just that damn simple. And remember, before rotation, we have even more sets that are going to stack on top of that already broken archetype, and unless they're going to print literally nothing in white or blue, it's just going to get worse. Just ban it now. They should be able to look to the future and be like, okay, it's bad now and everybody hates it. We're losing customers. People are pissed. How much worse is it going to get on top of that? Because arguably the deck's not bad enough to ban now. It's just annoying. But look to the future. It's like, how much more money and customers are you going to lose before it really becomes a problem and then it really is ban worthy? So it just should have already been banned. That's all it comes down to. And now that people are mixing Is It with it or a mill backbone, it's just out of control. Teferi needs to go straight back to hell. In fact, it's at the point where I hope he dies in the storyline just so we never have to see him again. And hopefully Kanye sues them for using his likeness in one of the images. And then since they couldn't get consistency, pretty sure they ripped off Eddie Murphy's brother, Charlie. Just saying, identical. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button for more spoilers in the future, and I'll see you guys next video.